Hello everybody, this is the Johnny-mar, and welcome to a brand new series on my channel, and that is playing through the original Legend of Zelda for the NES. This is actually the third Legend of Zelda game that I'm going to be doing for my channel, having already completed A Link to the Past and also Link's Awakening. And this is actually the fourth game in the series that I played. So Link to the Past was the first game that I played, Link's Awakening was second, and then Ocarina of Time was actually third. So I did not get to this game until I actually got the Zelda collection for the GameCube. And that allowed me to actually go back and play this game for the first time. So I'm not horribly experienced with it, kind of like the other games in the series. Link to the Past, for example, which I play a couple of times per year. But I have played through it a couple of times. I know basically the ins and outs of it. So I will be showing a walkthrough of the game and kind of the path I take to beat the game. Now, I've been challenged by some of my viewers to do both the initial quest and also the more difficult secondary quest, and I haven't yet decided if I'm going to do that or not because I've never beaten the second quest. But yeah, I'll probably do it, we'll see. But without too much further ado, I think it's about time for us to get into this original game. So I've already set up a profile for Link, so we're just gonna hit enter. Or start, of course. And we start off on the first screen and head down into this little cave. And we get one of the most famous lines in any video game. It's dangerous to go alone, take this. And now we have Link's sword, which of course shoots out a little beam, as you can see. That's an element that was added to some of the later Zelda games. Now, what's interesting about that character, he's become kind of infamous, and we're gonna go exploring here to the east. But most people know that line. Some people don't know where it comes from, and it has become kind of so infamous that when I attended Video Games Live this summer in Baltimore, the winner of the costume contest was a guy wearing a ratty old red robe and then a beard, and all he did was say that line, and everyone in the crowd flipped out. So there is some staying power to that line. And that kind of shows how popular this series is. But we're going to head to the east here. I'm going to kill things as we go along. And that is to gain rupees, as many as I possibly can. Now, most people, when they start up this game, will just head to the first dungeon, which is called Eagle. But I like to head to the east first and try to amass about 20 rupees. And if I can't get 20 rupees, or if I get extremely lucky with enemy drops, because some of the enemies are actually blue, as I take tons of damage here. Jeez, I gotta get a handle of these controls again. And thanks for a stopwatch, which of course freezes everything on the screen after I had killed everything. Crap, come on, let's do this. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get used to these controls again. I have not played this game in quite a while. And the enemies will change their speeds up, and so sometimes they'll move very quickly. And I really need that fairy. Come here. Come here. Yes. And thankfully, because I'm probably gonna be low on health throughout much of this game, and I'll probably die, let's be honest here. I am not terribly great at this game. Basically, the little low health indicator is actually not too obnoxious in this version. But I want to purchase bombs here. So that's what I need the 20 rupees for. And basically, if you do get lucky with your item drops for the blue enemies, like those Octoroks, then you'll actually get bombs when you kill them. But unfortunately, I did not, so I had to purchase them for 20 rupees. Now with the bombs, we're going to head back to the west, and we're going to come to a little bit of an intersection here in the cliffy area at the southern part of the map. And we're going to use a bomb to blow open the wall. Now, unlike later games in the series, this game does not give you any clues as to which walls or, various parts of the environment you can actually destroy. But the reason we did that, as you can see, is to get a heart container. So we don't have to actually collect 4 heart pieces like in later games of the series. We can just find full heart containers, and that will increase our life meter over there. There's actually about 5 of those to collect on the world map. And then, of course, you also get 1 from each of the dungeons you complete. Now, this is actually a pretty large world map. It's about 8 tiles up and down and 16 tiles right to left. So that is a lot of screens to go through. And we will see pretty much all of them during this quest. Now my hope, again, is not to die very often. Like I said, I probably will die at least a couple of times, unlike my previous LPs of the other Zelda games I've played. But maybe a few times only. Because I do want this to serve as kind of a walkthrough, and if you're dying all the time, that's not the greatest walkthrough or experience as a viewer. Ow. Now, rupees are of two variety in this game. We don't have all of the various colored rupees, so we don't have red or yellow or purple. We just have flashing that are blue and yellow. Those are worth 1 rupee. And then we also have blue rupees, which are worth 5. And you are limited to 255 rupees max. But this is level 1, Eagle. So as you might expect, the first dungeon is pretty easy to do. Although we do have annoying Keese enemies to kill, these stupid bats. So like most Zelda games, if you kill enemies in some rooms, you will get a key. In other rooms, you'll have to push blocks and a lot of the elements that have become kind of standard for the series. And unlike previous games, or actually later games in the series, sometimes in this version, you'll notice the skeleton way to the right of the screen. He actually has a key inside of him. So that is a preset drop that if you kill him, you will actually get the key. So we have 2 keys, and if you'll notice, the door is locked. But if we head out the door and come back in, we'll say the magic words of open sesame or open says me, and bam, the door is open. So that'll actually save us a key. And the keys in this game are interchangeable. You can use them in any of the dungeons. And that is actually so noticeable when you go to a shop, because basically you can buy keys and use them throughout the different dungeons. So if you do end up kind of running out of keys, although you really shouldn't, every dungeon does have the number of keys that you need to get through it. And with that little door glitchy thing, you do have an extra key in your reserves that will, of course, make use of. And there's actually a special item in this game called the Master Key, or the Big Key, or the Almighty Key, which is basically a lion head key. And that key will actually open every door so that you don't have to worry about your small key count. But we got the standard compass as we wait for this stupid Keese, and that'll show you where the Triforce piece is in this dungeon. So it is in the upper right-hand corner of the dungeon. We will get there eventually. And every Triforce piece is, of course, protected by a boss that we'll have to take on. Now, sadly, a lot of the bosses in this game are actually just palette swaps or, re-skinned versions of previous bosses. So that's kind of unfortunate, but it is the way it is, basically. This was the first game in the series. It is a cryptic clue, and if you hit the old man, he gets upset and shoots fire at you. A lot of the clues in this game, the translation isn't great. Even in the modified versions, like the one I'm playing, which is from the Virtual Console for Wii U, basically, the English isn't that great, and so it's not really helpful to get those clues, but oh well. Now we got the map, and as you can see, the kind of dungeon layout is in the upper left corner of the screen, as we take on these, something like Garayas or something like that. They throw little boomerangs at you. And for killing them all, we actually get the trusty boomerang ourselves, one of the best items in the series. But the map is in the upper left corner, and I've always thought it looks like a magic lamp, kind of like in Aladdin, but it is supposed to be an eagle in flight, I guess. So obviously the feet at the bottom, the wing at the top, and then I would guess the head over to the right. So this is one of the most difficult rooms in this very easy dungeon, and that is, of course, taking on these Garayas again. But we'll stun them now with our boomerang, which is why I went and got that first. And we continue to get the stupid little stopwatches after we kill all the enemies. Jeez. So now we'll do some little gesticulations here to get these spike traps to move out of the way. And we'll get the special item from this dungeon, which is actually the bow. Hopefully we won't get hit by these, jeez, stupid keys. The boomerang is not doing what it's supposed to. But there's the bow, our first special item. And we cannot select it because we actually don't have arrows. It is very interesting in that in this game you have to buy arrows from the shop. We'll get around to that eventually. Right now, we're focused on beating this dungeon, finding a piece of the Triforce that was split by Zelda herself, and continuing onward to collect some more items. But we are basically done with this dungeon. We only have a few more rooms to go through, and then we'll take on the boss. So as you see, enemies are not respawning. This game does have a fairly decent respawn rate. You have to go quite a few rooms away or even out of, for example, a dungeon, as we see some floor masters here. If you stay against the wall, they will just keep coming, and if they grab you, they will take you back to the beginning of the dungeon, so you want to be careful. Ooh, a fairy. Come here. Come here. Okay. Oh man. Jeez. So let's take this boss on. And it's a dragon. Or a unicorn. Or a dragon unicorn. This battle's pretty easy. If you have your sword beam, you can just stay on the left side and shoot him, of course. And then chow down on a fairy if needed. But if you don't, what you need to do is, of course, charge in. His pattern doesn't change much. Those fireballs are pretty easy to dodge. And then just slash them a few times, run away, dodge, and continue and repeat. But now that we have 5 hearts, which is why I went and got that heart container before we went into Dungeon 1, we can actually pick up the second most powerful sword in the game. And to get that, we have to head quite a ways to the north and also to the east on the map. So it's not too far from World 1, or Dungeon 1 I should say, which is why I decided to do this right now, as I get crushed by a boulder. Because it's a pretty quick trip up to get it, and it will significantly increase our damage output. So the wood sword can kill some enemies, mostly things like Octoroks in 1 hit. But the more difficult enemies, it'll take 2 hits or 3 hits to kill. With the second power sword, you can kill quite a bit of things with just 1 hit. And there is a third sword in the game, and we'll be getting that one eventually, but you need 5 hearts in order to get the second powered sword, which is called the White Sword. And it is in this cave right here, so we're gonna head in and grab it. And in my next episode, we're gonna head towards Dungeon 2, while also picking up some more items. So as always, viewers, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this first episode, and I will see you all next time. So long. Welcome back, everybody. This is the thejonnymar, and I'm continuing with The Legend of Link for the original NES. And that's right, I'm playing The Legend of Link, not The Legend of Zelda, because we don't actually get to play as Zelda in this game. But basically what we're going to be doing in this episode is doing some item hunting to get ourselves prepared for the second dungeon in the game. And so I'm going to use some of my acquired bombs from last time to access a cave that is a secret to everybody. And this particular cave will give us access to some rupees. And we need those because there are a few items I want to acquire before I actually head into Dungeon 2. And one of the ways to do that is to pick up as many rupees as possible. So basically while I'm playing this, I'm doing this instead of playing Smash Brothers. And this is a topical little statement that if you're watching this video years from now, will seem kind of nostalgic perhaps, or retro. And we're gonna get the blue candle in here, even though we could get the second power shield there if we had enough rupees. The blue candle allows you to burn items and also light up rooms 1 time per screen. And this will let us access a few new things, including some new heart containers. But yesterday the new Smash Brothers came out for the 3DS, and a lot of my friends are talking about playing it. And I would like to play it too, although I've never played a Smash Brothers game before. That might be shocking to hear, considering how much of a Nintendo fanboy I am, and the fact that I've owned pretty much every Nintendo system, but I've never really been into fighting games before. And so Smash Brothers is something that's kind of not really been my thing. Now, in the past, that's because I haven't really known a lot of people that have been into it to do couch co-op on. You burn the 5th bush here to the right. Well, from the right, actually, we can get another heart container. And so it wasn't until recently that you could actually play online with the Wii, for example, and now with the Wii U, or with the 3DS, as it turns out. And so I could get the game for the 3DS. I'm not sure I want that to be my first experience with the game, even though many of my friends are playing it. So I think I'm gonna wait for the Wii U version, because I think that'll be the best way to do it. But maybe I'll regret that. Who knows, maybe I'll cave and actually get the 3DS version eventually, just because everyone is gushing about it and talking about their favorite fighters and the fact that Little Mac is awesome. And, you know, I did do Punch-Out not too long ago on my channel, and, you know, I would probably pick either, I would assume Link is in the game. I haven't looked a ton at the roster, but also Little Mac would hold a little bit of a special place in my heart, so I would probably pick him as well. Or just use my Mii, I guess. I'm not sure if anyone's really tried out the Mii characteristics. I'm sure that's probably on the Wii U version, actually, not the 3DS version, but I could be wrong. But we're gonna use our bombs here to blow a hole in this suspicious-looking boulder, just kind of hanging out here. And that's gonna give us access to another heart container. So that'll take us up to 7 hearts. So we are well on our way, considering there are only 16 hearts in the game, so once we finish Dungeon 2, we'll actually be halfway there. Now, the next thing we want to pick up, we're going to need some more rupees for. And fortunately, there is a bush that we can burn to the south here, and that'll give us access to one of the 300 rupee kind of secret caves that you can get. So there are only 3 of those, so you want to make those rupees count. And I'm going to do that by acquiring 2 of the more expensive items in the game. So let's head down the stairs. It's still a secret to everybody. But thank you. 100 rupees. Good times. Remember, your max is 255. And I'm going to kill off all of these enemies, and there's actually another bush we can burn in this area. It'll give us access to some more rupees, I believe. And of course it's nice when the enemies drop 5 rupees when we kill them. Now, I didn't mention last time, but many of the early Zelda games, at least this game and A Link to the Past, for example, have the ability to actually use your shield automatically. So if you're not using anything, as we get 10 rupees, woo. So as long as you're not attacking or using an item, Link will actually have his shield out in front of him, and so he will automatically use it to block enemy projectiles. And the first level shield will block arrows, and also rocks as well from Octoroks. It will not block fireballs. And so you can actually get a second level shield in this game, the magical shield, and that's what we're going for right now. Now the magical shield is anywhere from around 130 to 160 rupees at most of the shops in Hyrule. But there is one particular shop where it's actually significantly cheaper, and that's where we're gonna go next, and then head to Dungeon 2. I'm gonna kill off all these enemies, get a few more rupees, and then grab our very useful candle that we picked up earlier on. And we're gonna burn this bush, which is a secret shop. So as you can see, the magical shield is only 90 rupees here, which I believe is the cheapest of any shop in the game. So now we have a shield that covers pretty much all of Link's body, from his toes up to his pointy ears. And this is where Dungeon 2 is located. We'll kill off a few more Octoroks, and then we'll head up, ooh, bombs, and take on Dungeon 2. Now, Dungeon 2 is called Moon, and that is because it is shaped, generally, like a moon. Well, a crescent moon. So there are a lot of keys we can acquire in here, and also some new enemy types like these little snakes that will come sprinting at you if you give them a chance. Now fortunately with our white sword, they go down fairly quickly. But this dungeon also allows me to take advantage of another mechanic in this early Zelda game. And that is that basically a lot of the dungeons will have doors that are not sort of noticeable. And basically you have to bomb your way through, and a lot of the rooms will actually allow you to do so. So you can bypass and skip many of the rooms in these dungeons by using bombs. Now I want to show off pretty much as much of the dungeons as I can in each of these episodes. And so I'm not going to be skipping many rooms unless there's basically nothing in them whatsoever. But if you're not interested in things like the keys or the map or the compass, you can actually get to the bosses pretty quick and do basically a speed run in this game. I've seen people beat this game in around 30 minutes. So if you know where everything is and you basically avoid the stuff you don't really need, you can beat the game pretty quick. But for the sake of this walkthrough, of course, I'm going to be showing off pretty much anything. But I do want to conserve my keys, and since bombs are much more plentiful and also easier to acquire, I will be using bombs liberally in this dungeon. So you'll notice I used one there, because that'll actually save me a key, so I don't have to come in and get the map through that door to the left over there. And we will continue onward through this dungeon, which actually looks more like a J to me. Now maybe that's, you know, me being egocentric, but it looks like a J. When I think of a moon, as we take on more boomerang flinging fools, I usually picture it to the other side, so kind of more of a C shape as opposed to a J shape. But that's me, and you'll notice all the enemies disappeared there. And we're skipping that locked door because that was the map room. And that's because occasionally when you fight a mob of enemies, one of the enemies is classified as the leader, quote unquote, of the group. So if you kill that leader, it'll actually kill off all of the enemies that are also still in the group if they haven't died yet. And now we have, blue Gorias. And why did we get the second level shield? Because it blocks fireballs and helps out in rooms like this. Ow. But now we have the magical boomerang, because everything apparently in this game can be upgraded to a magical version. Because when in doubt, it's magic. So here we have some land Melissas, if that's what they're called. I think that's their name. I don't know if that's the plural. So they're pretty easy to kill. Just slash them with your sword and get another key. We are stockpiling quite a few keys here. Of course, lots of bombs too. Although I hate keys, or keeses. Again, not quite sure of the plural. Oh man, so let's dodge that. So the boss of this dungeon is a very kind of infamous in the series. He's been in a lot of the games. He's pretty fun to kill, although he's killed basically the same way in most of the games. Stupid snakes. Are they called ropes or something? Or rops? Not quite sure. So you can go through that room again using one of your keys, but I'm gonna bypass that using a bomb, because again, bombs are easier to get. And significantly cheaper if you do decide to buy them in stores. So let's kill off all these Gorias. We are almost through with this dungeon. We're gonna leave those bombs there, because they're actually now permanently there. And we'll be coming for you soon, boss. But this guy tells us about the boss. It is Dodongo, and he doesn't like smoke. Which means, of course, we're gonna wanna use bombs on him. So there's not much in this room, which is why I skipped it and didn't waste a key on it. All we get is 5 rupees. And unfortunately, when we head back through this room, we are gonna have to listen to his little statement again. So thank you for the statement. I'm gonna slash you for it. And then we're gonna head in and fight Dodongo, which many of you probably are aware, you kill by feeding bombs to. So it takes 2 bombs to actually kill him. Now an alternate method of doing it is to have a bomb explode near him without actually killing him, and that'll stun him for a short period, and then you can actually hit him with your sword. And that is why I left the bombs there. So now I can replenish, head in and get my additional piece of the Triforce. And in my next episode, what we're gonna do is collect some more items, of course, because this game does involve a lot of side questing. And then we're gonna head towards Dungeon 3, which is down in the southwest corner of the map. So as always, viewers, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you're enjoying this journey through the original Hyrule, and I'll see y'all next time. So long. Welcome back, everybody. This is the thejonnymar, and I am continuing with The Legend of Zelda, the original adventure for the NES. Or should I say, The Legend of Link. So last time we took on Dungeon 2, and today we're going to pick up some more special items on our way towards Dungeon 3 of this wonderful game. And I'm glad to be back on the stick, so to speak, as it's been about a week of a forced hiatus that I've had because of illness. Now, I'm still not feeling the greatest, and so my throat is still pretty scratchy. Hopefully that won't cause any problems with recording here, but you never know. If I do have some issues with my voice, I do apologize ahead of time. But I'm feeling pretty much better, so I'm hoping this will go okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is pick up some bombs. That's nice. But we're going to activate this Armos Knight. He's going to reveal a little hidden staircase here, and as always, it's a secret to everybody, but we get a lovely 10 rupees. So that is going to be helpful. We need to acquire basically the maximum amount of rupees that we possibly can in the very near future, because we're going to pick up one of, if not the, most expensive items in the game, and that is some brand new jewelry we're going to be blinging out Link. So we're going to take on, of course, these moblins with their annoying little spears and arrows that they throw at us. We're going to kill Armos Knights as needed, and we're going to try to find most of these little catches of rupees, because, as I mentioned, we need a lot of them in order to get the blue ring. There's actually another item or two that I want to pick up during this part of the game before we head to Dungeon 3. So it seems like people are pretty excited about this series. It's gotten a fairly decent response so far. In fact, it's one of my most popular series for the first few days that the videos have been out. So that's awesome. Lots of great comments, so I appreciate that, and I've been responding to them as I've gotten them. And it seems like a lot of people like me are fanatics for the Legend of Zelda series. And who can say why anyone would hate this series? It's such a kind of classic and iconic series. There's so many great elements of kind of this action-adventure RPG that this game kind of set the standard for. And basically, it's really kind of redefined that as it's come out with each new entry. But we get the prescription or the note or the letter here from the old man. And he says we need to look for the old woman. I'm not sure if they're related in some way, if they're married, or he just knows about her or what. The old woman is the witch, and she's actually located various places around the world of Hyrule here. Now, the quickest way to get to her is to try to get past all these Tektites and bomb the wall up above in the northern part here, and she'll actually be in that cave, and we want to give her the letter that the old man gave us. And that'll allow us, to get a item that is kind of important. Not so much now, but later in the game, definitely. So we're going to bomb right here, and we're going to go down and meet the woman. She will not talk to you. She'll just stand there in silence, unless you have the letter with you. And use it with your B button, and she will allow you to buy medicine. So we have the life potion and the second potion, or the red and the blue potion. So for those of you that have played other Zelda games, you know what those do. They restore your health. So the blue potion is a one use. When you use it as an item, it will restore all of your hearts. So it's best to use that when you're kind of low on health and kind of when you need it. And the red potion is a double use. So it'll restore your health twice. And when you use the red potion, it'll actually become the blue potion. And actually, if you buy the blue potion when you already have a blue potion, it'll actually become a red potion. So that's a way to save a little bit on purchasing it in the future. But bam, there we go. That is the second of the 300 rupee catches. And that will almost take us to the amount of rupees that we need, which is 250. Now remember that the max is 255 that you can hold. So we don't want to go over that with collecting rupees. That would be a waste, and we still have a few more items that are pretty expensive in this game, so I want to try to make every rupee count, so I don't have to sit there and grind out by just walking around the map and killing enemies repeatedly. So where we need to head is way over to the west. It's a path that we could have taken before, But there was really no reason to do so because we didn't have enough rupees to buy any of the items at the shop. Or at least any of the items that matter. Of course, we could have bought stuff, but it's things like bombs and arrows and things like that, and we really still don't need the arrows, so I'm going to put off buying them for still a little while. But we'll be getting them eventually, because you can't finish the game without the arrows. Now there is a bush there that we can burn to get some more rupees, but again, I'm gonna take a fireball in the back from that stupid Goron, and there's a bush over here to the right as well with rupees. But I'll come back for them later, because as I mentioned, I'm pretty much maxed out on rupees. We'll try to dodge these Zoras. You can burn another bush here on the end to find a shop. And then another bush over here can be burned. Oh dang it, I need to turn around when those stupid fireballs are coming at me. And stop running into enemies. They do not care at all if you run into them. They will do damage to you, and you cannot do damage to them, and that means. But we are almost to the special shop. It is a hidden shop, of course. A lot of the stuff in this game is actually hidden, if you haven't noticed so far. Luckily, I know where pretty much all of it is, and the stuff I don't know where it is, well, it's not really of importance. I think there's a couple of secret kind of 10 rupee catches that I don't necessarily know where it is off the top of my head, and so I don't consider that to be super important. But I do consider it important to stay alive, and I am not doing well with that. Constantly running into these enemies. Now the shop we want is not this one, although I do want that fairy. Thank you. It's actually one more screen up, and it is hidden under another Armos Knight. So we have to watch out for these stupid little sand creatures. And I have no reason to kill that guy because I'm maxed out on rupees. But we want to head down these stairs here. And what the heck, I'll kill it anyway. My bloodlust is up. Die. Oh, there we go. Yeah, another 5 rupees. But this is the shop we wanted. We want the blue ring. And yes, that is really expensive. 250 rupees. Wow. Now you'll notice Link was still green when he was in the cave, but now that we have that, he actually changes over to the blue tunic. So what that means is we take half damage from now on. And pretty early in the game, too, you can acquire that. You can actually acquire it as early as you want. If you wanted to, you could walk around the map and grind and get enough rupees and get it before Dungeon 1. But that would take quite a bit of time. So I kind of put it off till now because it was easiest to get it after doing the first few dungeons. So the third dungeon we want to head to is actually down here to the south and also to the right. And it's the first dungeon that'll actually introduce some kind of annoying enemies to us. And we'll get to that once we actually see them. But this is level 3 with our weird statues in the entrance foyer again. Some fish and some dragons, it looks like. We do have a new enemy type here. These are poles, I think, is what they're called. And normally, if you have the wooden sword or if you use a weaker weapon on them, what will happen is they'll actually split into gels, which are the kind of smaller slime enemies that jump around. So since we do have the white sword, we can actually kill them with one shot. Now in this next room, we meet one of the most difficult enemies in the game for the first time, and that is the Dark Knot. Now, it is, I think, technically a Dark Nut, but I've always pronounced it Dark Knot, and I think that just sounds cooler. But Dark Knots are enemies that have shields and swords, of course. Ow. And they will block any attack from the front, and they are very good at anticipating you and kind of moving towards you as we pick up some superfluous bombs there. So they are tough, to beat, because you have to basically kind of walk around them and try to stab them either from the back or the side. Now you also can use bombs on them, but we do need bombs for the boss of this level, Keys, so we don't want to use up all of our bombs before we get to it. Now this room is going to be annoying, because there are a lot more Dark Knots, and basically we have to kill all of them to open the door to the south. Now, the southern room will take us to the actual special item of this dungeon. And luckily I did get a stopwatch, which stopped all of them. And this room is completely filled with dark nuts. So we're gonna try to dodge them, awesome, and go down the stairs. And there's our special item, that is the raft. I'm gonna boomerang some keys. Now the raft is needed to access one dungeon and also a heart container. So that's why you actually need it. Fortunately we have it, and for whatever reason, when we come up in a position that actually allows us to get out of that room pretty easy. So if you need to kill all those, or if you feel the urge to kill all those dark nuts, then basically I would suggest bombs. They are the best way to kill those things, especially when there's lots of them. This is another new enemy type, and that is the bubble. The bubble does not do any damage to you, but again, they track you like dark knots, and if they hit you, thanks for the stupid stopwatch. They will actually stun you for a brief moment and not allow you to use your sword. But you can still use special items like the boomerang. So that's nice. Ow. And more bombs, yay! You kind of get the feeling, since we're getting so many bombs as special items and drops in rooms, that they're important. And that is true, they are important. Luckily we're getting some keys too to add to our stash. I don't mean a mustache, I mean our supply. So let's kill these guys. We have to push this rock, or stone, or block, or lever, or however you want to talk about it. And yes, we did get the sword from the old man on top of the waterfall. That was not very useful information. And the only reason to come over here to this room is to get a key to replace the one we used to get that useless tip. Now, of course, if you're playing the game for the first time, that might be a useful tip. But again, it's pretty cryptic, so I guess it would tell you, ooh, look out for a waterfall. And again, we have to activate it yet again. So we did. Should I slash him again? I'm tempted. Nah. I already hit him once. Now I notice the enemies don't respawn, so that's good. Now we need to head around to the right here. And we are actually almost done with this dungeon. You can hear the boss, and you can actually bomb directly into the boss's room if you want by going to the right there. But we want to access a few more rooms. And you'll notice that the map is shaped kind of like a swastika, and it is not a swastika actually. It is a manji from the Japanese culture. A lot of people, I think, confuse it for the swastika, which I think is a similar design, except I believe the swastika is to the opposite side, so it's kind of flipped in its orientation. But I could be wrong. So let's kill some more dark nuts, as I keep switching back and forth with my pronunciation. And then we will access the room to the right, which is the last room before we take on the boss. Now the boss can actually be killed in one shot if you're pretty lucky or really good at placing bombs. I'm usually not, so it'll probably take more than one shot to beat it. So we have more keys, more poles, and also more bubbles. Ow. Although, it didn't really hurt. Okay, there we go. Woo, 5 rupees. Let's take on the boss. The boss's name is Manhandla. It is an annoying little boss that goes around the room, shoots fireballs at you, and the only way to kill it is to bomb its parts. Now you need to kill the core in the middle, but you also have to take out all of the parts around it. And as you take out parts, it'll speed up. And like I said, awesome. Well, I'm not awesome, but I'm glad I killed it. If you're really lucky, you can actually beat it with 1 bomb, but as you saw, it took 4 or 5 of them, because its pattern gets pretty unpredictable as it gets a lot faster. But that is Dungeon 3. Next time we are going to head to and finish up with Dungeon 4, as well as get some more items. As always, viewers, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see y'all next time. So long! Welcome back, everybody. This is the Johnny Mare, and I'm continuing with The Legend of Zelda, the original game for the NES. So last time we took on level 3, which was the Manji Dungeon, and this time we are going to be gathering some new items, mostly some rupees from some secret stashes, and then we're also going to be heading to Dungeon 4. Now, Dungeon 4 is the first of kind of the more advanced dungeons, so to speak, I guess. It's a little bit more kind of expansive compared to the first 3 dungeons, which were pretty simple to get through. Other than, a few enemy types like the Dark Knots, or Dark Nuts. Remember, I'm calling them Dark Knots. But we're going to take out all of these moblins, and we're going to use a bomb up here on the rock face to actually open up a cave to get us some more rupees. And that is because we are going to need a couple of rupees, a couple hundred actually, to actually get a last few items that we need to buy from the various shops in Hyrule. Now this particular screen is actually called the Lost Woods, and this will come into play a little bit later in the game when we're heading to actually collect the final sword that we can get. But for now we're just going to leave it because basically we don't have to worry about it for now. Instead, I'm going to try to not get hit by too many arrows, and I'm going to burn this little tree right here. And this will open up our third of the 100 rupee catches, so this is the final one in Hyrule. So we'll be using that to get a few more items, as I mentioned, and that includes the enemy bait, or the meat, and also the arrows, finally, for our bow. But let's head down and grab our rupees. Bam! So that is, again, one of the catches that includes 100 rupees. So now that we've actually picked that up, I'm going to have a few more places to go to. We'll be using our candle to open them up. And again, if you did want to do all of this, you could have done it once you got the candle. You didn't have to wait until this point in the game to do it. But I waited because, basically, I'm trying to do this as efficiently as possible, and running around the world map is not necessarily efficient. Now you'd think there'd be a fairy in here to heal us, but it's a little bit of a psych out. Rather, we have to go a screen over to the right, and then that is where we'll actually find the fairy. So this is a mechanic that has been used in quite a few of the games throughout the series. Ow. Nice arrow to the back. And that mechanic is, of course, the fact that you can get fully healed by great fairies. Now, we actually don't get any powers from fairies in this game, so that'll be something that's added a little bit later. But it will be nice once we're able to get our last few items and we don't have to worry about buying anything anymore. That's not to say there won't be anything we can't use our rupees on once we buy the next few items. But rather, it's basically we won't need to buy anything except in dungeons. Because there's actually a few upgrades we can purchase. Those of you that have played the later games in the series, you know that oftentimes the series will allow you to upgrade your capacity. And in this game you can do that as well with bombs, but we'll be getting to that once we get to the first dungeon that allows you to do it. In the meantime, I picked up the enemy bait, or the meat, and now I'm going to pick up the arrows. So the only thing left for us to do, as we now have the arrows to go along with our bow, is to head towards Dungeon 4 and get a few more rupee catches. So the arrows actually use up rupees when you use them. So for each arrow you shoot, it will use 1 rupee. So essentially, as long as you have rupees, you can continue to use them repeatedly over and over again. And as I mentioned in a previous episode, they are necessary to beat the game. You do need the arrows, or a special version of the arrows, to beat Ganon at the end. And the enemy bait, I mean, it's not necessarily super helpful. What you can do is put it down on the ground, and certain enemy types will actually swarm around it, so that they won't actually come after you instead. And so that can be helpful, but it's basically mostly useless, and if you didn't have to have it to pass a room in a dungeon coming up, I wouldn't buy it, but since I do need it, I will of course purchase it. Here's a few more rupees for us. Whoop-de-doo, 10 more. And then we're gonna head up to the north. There are 2 more places I want to go to, grab the rupees, then we'll come back to that little dock that we saw a few screens back to the west, and that'll be the way that we get to Dungeon 4. This is actually a shop, so you can get a magic shield here if you haven't picked it up, or if something happens in the very near future that I hope doesn't. But again, I'll talk about that when we get to it. Now, I was given a little bit of a hard time by some of my viewers after the last episode because I took so many hits. And that, you know, basically I agree. I was kind of reckless heading to Dungeon 3 and also in Dungeon 3 last time. So I'm going to try very hard once we're in Dungeon 4. Oops. Didn't mean to shoot the fire there, although it worked. I'm going to try really hard to not take as much damage because I don't want to die. Now that I've gotten to this point in the game, I'm gonna try to beat the game without dying any times, but we'll see what happens. This is the final rupee catch that I can pick up at this point. I just got down there before that pea-hat got me. It is still a secret to everybody. And it's kind of nice, I guess, that they leave the stairs on the screen for you to let you know which ones you got and which ones you didn't. So now we don't have to come back later and walk through this area and be like, oh, did I get that one? Because obviously the stairs are there, so yes, I did. But now we are going to head to Dungeon 4. There is a heart container I could pick up since we do have the raft, but that's going to require me to go all the way to the other side of the map, so basically there is a special item in this dungeon that allow us to get the final heart container, and since the last 2 are actually roughly in the same area, I'm just gonna wait till after level 4. But this is level 4. This very drab yellow color. And this dungeon is called Snake. And I don't mean Solid Snake, but it is sort of shaped like a snake, I guess, once we actually see it. But it is pretty standard. We're gonna be facing quite a few of the same enemies, but there are a couple of new ones, including one very annoying one that I'm sure many of you are not going to be too happy to see. Well, you might be happy to see them, because they can cause a lot of havoc on you. But this new enemy here is called the Vyres, and I don't mean a mid-boss from Disgaea. But what happens with the Vyres is once you kill them, they'll actually split into 2 keys that will fly around the room. And this room also illustrates another little thing about this dungeon, which is that some of the rooms are actually in dark. There's really no reason to come in here other than to get the compass, so I'm gonna quickly grab that and get the heck out of here. Fires really don't drop anything, at least not anything good. The best way to fight them is to hit them near a wall, and then try to immediately attack afterwards so that you can kill the bats before they start spreading out and flying around the room like crazy. But I'm going to be liberally using my boomerang here to try to kill these stupid keys. And also collecting keys as I can. Now, it's certainly possible to get through these rooms without the candle, but the candle does make it quite a bit easier. So we don't actually have to kill these guys, as that one jumped right over my boomerang. We can just go right past them, and I might eventually do that. Ow. Because there's really no reason to kill them. So I'm just gonna get the heck out of here. This dungeon also introduces the return of a previous boss from a different dungeon as a kind of mid-boss or mini-boss. And that particular boss is actually the boss from the last dungeon, and that is Manhandla. And there are also quite a few rooms in this dungeon we can bomb. So I'll be trying to show all that off as we go along here. So you'll notice there is a little path here, actually a little gap that we can't get across. That's because we need a special item that is actually located in this dungeon to get through here. So we have to head to the east to get it. I'm sure many of you are aware what that item is. It is a pretty useful item, and it is necessary also to get our final heart container. I'm going to continue to take out these Vires and the keys that they spawn. Hopefully I won't mispronounce any enemies in this particular episode. But here we go. We're heading into my least favorite room in this dungeon. And that's because we have a new enemy type. That is the infamous... Well, I don't love them, and I certainly don't like them, because they are likes. So we need to stay away from them. If you get too close to a like, it will eat you. And while you're stuck in its stomach, there is a very good chance that it will actually eat your magic shield. And then once that happens, it is gone. You drop back down to the original first level shield, and you'll have to rebuy the magic shield. So we did get one of them. Of course, there has to be stupid bubbles flying around the room. But there we go. That wasn't too bad. There's been numerous times where I've come into this room and I've actually lost my magic shield. Now, of course, since I'm playing the Wii U version, and the way you save on this version is to create basically a save state, so to speak. It's actually a restore point. I could just replay the game up to this point, but I'm trying not to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm hoping that basically I can just do this whole run without any major issues. But now you'll notice we can go across these small little gaps with our stepladder that we picked up. That was the special item for this dungeon. So that allows you to cross 1 pixel or 1 space kind of areas. Now we're gonna bypass this room. We don't need to kill any of those enemies. And in this room, we're gonna try lighting it up, and then we're gonna use our bombs to blow open the wall up here. Crap. I didn't mean to use a bomb there. I think I for a split second I should say, I thought I had my boomerang equipped. But yes, we have a secret little room here in the eye of the snake, I guess. And to the west is actually a room that you can go into, and that is where Manhandla is, the mini-boss of this dungeon. So you don't have to actually take it on if you don't want to. He will take as many bombs as it takes to kill him again. Which, with my particular crappiness of placing bombs, that's quite a few. But you really don't have to fight him. You can go around him. Basically to the east, or... Well, that's about it. You have to go to the east because the doors to the south and the north will actually close on you. And this guy tells us to go into the waterfall. Thanks for that useless information. I guess I should show off Manhandla, even though I don't really want to fight him. He's nothing but a waste of bombs. But this is him. So what I'm going to do is quickly bomb to the east, go back to our special room, and get the heck out of here. So from now on, in each of the dungeons, we're actually going to have not only a boss at the end, but also a mini-boss. And typically the mini-boss will be a past dungeon boss, if not one, sometimes a couple of that boss. So we have another dark room here with lots of traps. We'll use our candle to light things up, and we'll see if we can dodge these traps and run into the flame and hurt ourselves. Nice. But this is the final room before the boss of the dungeon. So we have to kill off some Vires, of course. And we can hear the boss stomping around in the next room. We'll get to you soon, buddy, don't worry. Come on, cooperate, you stupid Vires. Gotta love the boomerang. Very helpful at killing Keese. Assuming they hit. There we go. So let's take on the boss and become a Dragon Master. So we have the two-headed Gliok here. What you need to do is slash it in the head. Your shield will actually not block the fireballs, so don't feel a sense of security there. It is easiest to do it from the side, and I'm getting pretty frustrated here, so I'm just gonna slash away. But you'll notice once you kill a head, basically it starts flying around the room and does a lot of damage. But I had enough hearts that I didn't have to worry about it. So let's head in, let's grab our 4th piece of the Triforce. And that is gonna be it for this episode. So next time we're gonna grab the final 2 heart containers. We're actually gonna pick up the final sword in the game, and we're gonna head towards dungeon number 5. So as always, viewers, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'll see y'all next time. So long. Welcome back, everybody. This is the thejonnymar, and I am continuing with The Legend of Zelda, the original NES classic. So last time we took on dungeon number 4, and we also picked up the last of a few different items after doing some rupee scrounging in Hyrule. And today we are going to basically do the last of our side questing. So we have 2 more heart containers to pick up, now that we have access to both the raft and also the stepladder, which we picked up the stepladder in dungeon number 4. And once we get those last 2 hearts, we will have the prerequisite amount that we need, which is 11 or 12. I don't remember exactly what it is. I think it's 11, but it might be 12. But that'll be enough to pick up the final sword in the game, the most powerful sword in the game, which is always, of course, a wonderful moment in any Zelda game once you are able, and I want that rupee, even though I don't need it. When you're able to get that final sword. Now in this game, it is not called the Master Sword, it is actually called the Magical Sword. But yeah, it is basically the Master Sword, and I'm gonna call it the Master Sword, even though it's called the Magical Sword, and that's what I consider it to be. But we have to run through all of the various screens here that we went through way back in my first episode. And I'm gonna let that fairy go free instead of actually eating it. So hopefully it can help out another adventurer that might come along through this area. We have to head all the way to the east of the world map, and basically the last 2 heart containers are located pretty much in the same place. They're only a couple screens from each other. So here is one of them that we need the stepladder to access. So first we'll kill off all of these Octoroks, and maybe the Zora as well. Awesome. And now we need 1 more heart container, and that is located 2 screens to the north from here. We'll access that one by using our raft. And I'm trying not to kill every enemy, but Octoroks are not too tough, and fortunately I did get some bombs. So we can replenish all those bombs we used in the last dungeon, which will be helpful because we need quite a few in dungeon number 5. So let's grab our final heart container, and then I'm gonna walk all the way back to where we left dungeon number 4 so we can continue over to get the magical sword. See you in a bit. Alright, so we are back where we started this episode, just south of dungeon number 4. I went basically north and west from where I got that last heart container, and then came south a little bit to get to that screen. So now we need to head back towards dungeon number 3, and we're going to access what is called the Lost Woods, which is a continuous maze that you basically have to defeat in a particular way in order to access the particular path that we're looking for. So first we're going to kill off some of these moblins though, because otherwise they're just going to keep shooting arrows at us and probably hit us in the back. Now we can bypass these stairs without going down. And I am going to kill off the moblins also in the Lost Woods here, which is this screen, because otherwise if you don't, you'll have to keep facing them each time that we go through this. But as I mentioned, this is the Lost Woods. It is a maze, just like most of the Zelda games when you go into the Lost Woods, or, you know, the Kakarika Forest or the Kokiri Forest or the various places. You have to go through in a particular order to get to the end of it. So you need to go up and then to the west. Then you have to go south and then to the left yet again. And that will take you through the Lost Woods. So we get that nice little jingle. We're gonna run past all these Lionels, and basically we're gonna continue up into the graveyard. So these ghost enemies are interesting because there's one on each screen, and if you touch one of these tombstones, another one will pop out. They're called something like genies or gahinis, or I don't know exactly what they're called, but they take about 5 shots with our second powered sword, the white sword, to actually defeat. Now, if we push this grave and take a shot there apparently from another ghost that popped out, we're gonna grab the magical sword. This is the best sword in the game. So it's roughly twice as powerful as the white sword, and roughly 4 times as powerful as our starting wooden sword. Now we want to get to dungeon number 5, but before we do that, there are a few more items I want to pick up. Dungeon number 6 is actually located to the north here, but we're not going to go in there. We're going to, again, skip it for now as I dodge these pea-hats. I'm going to try to kill these stupid Lionels. They're chucking some no, not fairies. They're chucking basically sword beams at us. Notice we can kill them now with only 2 shots from our magical sword. Would have taken 4 shots with our white sword. Now, we have these Armos Knights. There's actually a special item located under a particular Armos Knight. So we'll need to activate it, and then we'll kill it, and then we'll grab the item. So it's this one right here. And that is the Power Bracelet. So no, this is not Link's Awakening. It's not going to let us pick up boulders or rocks. But it will allow us to access what are called... They're essentially warp points. So there are 4 points across the world map that you can access, and then they'll basically allow you to warp to other areas of Hyrule. So there's one in the north, one in the south, one in the east, and one in the west. So before we do that, we'll bomb open this little cave here and grab some secret rupees that, again, everybody doesn't know about. I don't know who this everybody person is, but they are sure in the dark about all these rupees. Not us, though. We're well informed. So I'm gonna head back towards where we came from, the graveyard, and ow. You know, just for that, I'm gonna kill all of you. I was just gonna let you live. I was gonna go mind my own business, but no, you had to shoot me in the back with a sword beam. Hope you're happy. In death. But we're gonna continue back to the west, and where we wanna get is to that little circle of stones over there. Because that is our first warp point. I'm not going to use these super often, but occasionally they do cut out quite a bit of travel time. Now, of course, I could just do the travel time and edit it out, but I do want to save time as well. So depending on which stairs you go down, it'll take you to one of the other warp points. We want to take the far right one, which will take us just south of Death Mountain. So now if we head to the west a couple screens, we'll get another maze-like screen. And to access dungeon number 5, we need to head to the north 4 times. And that'll take us up to dungeon number 5. Now what's interesting about dungeon number 5 is, again, it's quite a bit more complicated than the previous dungeons we've been to, but it also has a secret entrance which will take you to a different starting room. And that's if you activate this Armos Knight here. You can go down those stairs and it'll take you basically to the same room, even though it's, you know, not the same room, so very weird. So the way this dungeon is constructed, there are actually 2 paths that you need to take. And we have another new enemy here. That is the Gibdos, I believe they're called, or something like that. They're essentially mummy-type creatures. Pretty easy to beat, although they can take quite a beating with your sword. So they take 2 shots from our magical sword, which means they would have taken 4 shots roughly with our white sword, or, you know, 6 to 8 shots with our wooden sword if you still have that. But here's our mini-boss, the return of Dodongo, and now there are 3 of them. So we want to feed them bombs. So as before, it takes 2 to kill each one off, or if you place a bomb next to them like so, you can just slash them. That's actually more efficient, but because I kind of suck with my bomb placement, I don't necessarily want to rely on that. So we'll get him to come south here, and we'll kill off all 3. Gives us a fairy, come here little thing, and also some new bombs. Now the map to this dungeon is actually located to the north here, so I'll quickly grab it. And then we're gonna start down the secret path. As you can see, the layout of this dungeon, which is called Lizard, I believe, is, I guess, kind of shaped like the head of a lizard. But we're gonna head to the west and down because we want to get into essentially the tongue area of the lizard, or the lip, I guess, because that'll take us on a path up to its head, which will allow us to access the special item of this dungeon, which we do need to beat the boss. It's not like previous dungeons where the special item was essentially, you know, a luxury. You didn't really need it to beat the bosses. this dungeon, you do need the special item. He is basically impervious otherwise. So I'm actually gonna leave those bombs down to the south there because they should not disappear. They were actually located in the stomach of that Gyarados. So I'm gonna blow open this wall and then grab the bombs. And now we're gonna head into one of my least favorite rooms in any dungeon, and that is a small, cramped room with lots of blue dark nuts. So if you thought the red ones are bad, or the orange ones, blue ones are even worse. They move faster, they take more hits, and they do more damage. So this gets very frustrating. You have to do a little dance with them, basically, trying to dodge them. And now I'm trapped. Ow. And eventually I just get so frustrated, I just let them hit me, and I start hitting them in the back when I can. So hopefully we'll get some fairies maybe, or some heart containers or pieces, or... Ooh, there we go. That's a fairy. That's nice. So you do have to beat all of them before you can push the block to actually take the shortcut. I really wish I had my sword beam. Come on. There we go. Well, that's not the only room, of course. There's another very full room that we'll have to take on more of them. But first we have to take this little path here. Try to dodge some keys. Maybe take a hit or two, unfortunately. No, I want to kill it. Hopefully it'll... Dang it. I was hoping for a heart. But now we're in the lizard's brain. So we're going to head to the left first, because that is where we need to go to get the special item, and this is another room with dark nuts. So that is another 6 of them. So what I'm going to try to do is use some bombs to weaken at least a few of them, so that hopefully I don't take as much damage. Now it takes roughly 3-ish bombs to kill a dark nut. The blue one that, ow, is... Oh, fairy. So if you can hit him with 1, you can usually then kill him with 1 sword slash. Okay, 2 down, 4 to go. Now these are, again, not even the worst enemies in the game. Those are still to come. We will meet the worst enemies, in my opinion, in the next dungeon. But dark nuts are not fun. They seem like you should be able to very easily predict their pattern, but the fact that they kamikaze at you when you try to slash them can really throw you off. I mean, I'm a guy. I'm used to leading the dance, not having to follow. But we will head down here. We have some more keys protecting, well, that instrument there. Kind of looks like a flute, I guess, or a pipe, or a whistle, for those of you that have played Super Mario Bros. 3 for the NES. But I think it's actually called the recorder. So for those of you that remember, well, maybe this is something only I went through when I was in middle school. When we were in music class, I thought for a second there I didn't have a key to get through, and that's because in my mind, even though I have 5 keys, I think of that as 0 because I've saved 5 keys from previous dungeons. Never mind. We're gonna blow a hole in the wall here because there's an old man who will actually upgrade our bomb capacity for 100 rupees. So basically, yeah, we're gonna do that. That'll get us up to 12. But the recorder was this, I don't know, kind of shaped like the thing in the game, and it allowed you to play different notes, etc. by blowing into it. It didn't work very well, and it kind of sounded like crap, but they made us play it, and we used it quite a bit in like 5th grade. And that's its name officially, I think, as we have more keys, of course. But I've always sort of seen it as a whistle or a flute, I guess. It's certainly not an ocarina like Link plays in later games. Although technically in the translation for the Super Nintendo, I think in Link to the Past it was called a flute as opposed to an ocarina. So I gotta get by these guys without taking too much damage. Maybe I can get out the door without getting hit. Ow, I'll just take the hit. So now you would think, okay, what we need to do here is kill all of these Gyarados and basically then push one of these blocks. And I'm guessing that's really what works here, but unfortunately, for some reason when I play this game, none of the blocks work for me. And I don't know if that's because I don't know which one it is, or you have to push a block in a particular way, or what's going on with that. But fortunately, what you can do is just bomb through the wall. So that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use my bombs, blow a hole in the wall, and we will continue onward with the dungeon as we start heading toward the boss now that we have the whistle. Too bad we can't blow the whistle and just take ourselves to World 8. Or in this game it would be Dungeon 8. Although the game technically has 9 dungeons, so yay. So that means we're just now a little over halfway done with the dungeon once we finish this one, and we will be halfway through the game. And since I've got all of that side questing out of the way, pretty much all of the future episodes are just going to be, as we get bunnies jumping around here. These are poles, even though I incorrectly identified Zoles as poles in a previous episode. But you can kill these guys with your bows and arrow, or I've heard you can blow the whistle too to kill them. I've just always used the arrows so I don't have to go towards them. Basically, they're weak to musical things or an arrow to the eye. And the guy in here tells you that maybe the whistle is helpful for stuff like that. So he reminds you that the boss of the dungeon doesn't like sound. That is Dig Dogger, or Dig Dodger, or Dig Dugger. It's not Dig Dugger, but that's what I always think when I see it. But I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, about halfway through the game. So once we're done with this dungeon, we will have 4 more dungeons to go. And since I have pretty much all the side questing done, and no, I'm not going to kill those dodongos again, each of the future episodes will pretty much just be the dungeons. And I guess getting to the dungeons, although they're not super far away. Dungeon 6 is located back by the graveyard. Dungeon 7 is roughly in that area as well. And Dungeon 8 is, well, it's close to where Dungeon 2 was. So these Zoles are not offering much of a problem. We're going to start working up the throat and the back of the mouth here of our lizard by killing some more Gibdoses. Yes, a little stopwatch for once at a time where it's actually useful. Nice. And we'll pick up more keys, because, you know, we need them. We especially need them because basically we're very soon going to get the Master Key, or the Almighty Key, which essentially means we don't need small keys anymore. But nice that we can kill off these orange Dark Knots with 1 slash from our sword. And we get this super useful compass, showing that the Triforce piece is in the upper nose of this lizard. This is a nice potpourri room. We got some Gibdos, some pole voices, and also some keys. Now there is one more hidden room in this dungeon, just like in the previous one. You can actually bomb to get into the eye. So if you'll notice on the map, roughly where the eye would be in an actual lizard, you can blow that open, and there's an old man in there that'll give you a tip. And his wonderful tip is arrows are useful. So you can't bomb north here. That would make things a lot easier if you could get into that room up there to get the bomb expansion. So you do have to take the shortcut. But in the meantime, we're going to kill off these Gibdos. We have one more room to go before the boss, and that room will have more Poles voices in them. Now there's no reason to really kill all these Gibdos. You'll notice that the door is actually open to the next room, but I have a bloodlust, and I want frivolous keys. So lots of pole voices in here. Again, we don't have to kill them all. If you want to, you can use your arrows, or you can just run right by them without worrying about them. So this is the boss, Dig Dugger, or Dig Dodger, or Dig Dogger. And to the south of him is a completely useless room. Yay! I guess it's a trap room, sort of, with more give doses. We'll get more bombs, and then once we're done with this, we'll head back to the north and take on the boss. He goes down pretty quick, and then we'll call an episode. So what we're gonna do to beat Dig Dodger, or Dig Dugger, or Dig Dogger, I don't know, whatever he is we're gonna take out our bombs. You're gonna lay a bomb at its feet, even though it doesn't have feet because it's a big circle, and then blow the whistle to split them into a form that can actually be harmed. That'll drop them down and glitch out the color, apparently, and then you just slash them. And now we get the color back. Awesome. So next time, we're gonna head towards dungeon number 6. Thanks for watching, viewers. I'll see y'all next time. So long. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Johnny Mare, and I am continuing with the Legend of Zelda, the NES classic. So last time we did a last bit of our side questing. We picked up our last few items that we basically need for the game. There's really only one more thing that we have to pick up in terms of items. And after that, basically, we took on Dungeon 5. So we are more than halfway done with our adventure. In fact, we only have 3 more main dungeons to go, and then also the final dungeon. So what we're gonna do right now is head towards dungeon number 6, which is where the difficulty starts to ramp up dramatically in this game. And that is mainly because the dungeons are gonna get bigger and bigger, and we're gonna start facing enemies that are quite difficult to defeat. Now, if you thought Dark Nuts were bad, then you ain't seen nothing yet. The most difficult enemies in the game, at least the kind of regular enemies that walk around in different dungeons, are still to come, and they're actually going to appear in dungeon number 6 in this episode. Now, because these dungeons are actually quite a bit more difficult, I'm not going to be showing off all of the rooms of the dungeon. I'm just going to be showing basically a very efficient route to get the special item and also to get to the master of the dungeon. Now, if you go right here, there's actually a key room where you'll fight Wizrobes, which are the new enemy type in this game. There's actually some in this room as well, the orange variety. And luckily I killed the one that's the Master Wizrobe, which caused all the rest to die as well. But that room is actually quite annoying because there's one key in there, and then there's a door to the north that has a key on it that's a old man who tells you a little tip about the boss of this dungeon. And then you need a key in order to continue on in the dungeon to the left. And so basically if you use the key on the north door, you can't use it to get through the door to the left. So then if you're playing this game and you're not stockpiling your keys like I am, then basically you have to go buy a key. Now this is an incredibly annoying room. Stupid likes. Oh man, did I lose my shield? No, I still have it. But we have orange Wizrobes, we have likes, and we also have the most annoying enemy in the game, and that is the blue Wizrobe. So it kind of runs around the room like this. It does massive amounts of damage if it hits you, and it'll actually teleport around the room like that. Now I got pretty lucky there. I've been known to take tons of damage in that room, and also in this room as well. So I'm gonna try to not take too much damage. There's a very good chance that I'm gonna have to use one of my healing potions in this dungeon, because these things just do way too much damage. And your shield is very inconsistent. Now if you head north from this room, you'll actually take on Gleeok again, and it'll actually be a 3-headed variety of Gleeok. And that was the boss from a few dungeons ago. And it's actually the boss of Dungeon 8, which we'll get to eventually. But we don't have to do that. We're going to be going around it, because I don't want to have to fight that thing. Instead, I am going to head towards the special item for this dungeon, assuming I can actually stop going back and forth between these rooms. I'm trying to get to the north, and you should be able to do it on the outer edge here, but the annoying thing is I keep getting caught up on my ladder. So there we go. So we'll head through this room as well. We have some more likes and also some gels or zols or whatever they're called. And yeah, I'm actually quite surprised I didn't lose my big shield. Those likes were nomming on me for quite a while. These stupid bubbles. There are a lot of rooms with them in, especially with Wizrobes. But there we go, we got the map. So you can see the head of the dragon, I guess. And this is the room that will take us to the special item for this dungeon, which is the magic rod. So all we gotta do is take out these whiz robes. And it's really about timing. Like, if you're lucky enough to get to these rooms with full hearts, then using your sword beam is actually a very good strategy against these things. And I'm gonna get my magic potion ready here, because you can actually shoot the beam from across the room and hit them, and as long as they're not teleporting, it'll do pretty much a lot of damage to them. Otherwise, you gotta kind of run after them. Ow, I'm gonna use my heal. I'm not gonna risk it. And what ends up happening is, like when you're fighting the Dark Knots too, for some reason Link will turn around at the last second and end up swiping in the opposite direction. And or the enemies will quickly change direction and just run into you. You'll notice that my shield can actually block their magic beams, but that's also inconsistent. But there we go. We took them all out, so let's head down the stairs and pick up our last special item, which is the magic rod. So this is a distance weapon, of course. It makes the same sound effect as the whiz robes do. Lets you shoot a little magical beam that's about as powerful as your second level sword. Maybe a little weaker than that. So it's essentially a reusable distance attack. So that's nice. So we'll be using that occasionally, if I can get past these stupid bubbles. A lot of enemies are actually immune to it. It would be really nice if we could use it on whiz robes, but we can't. I'm just going to take the damage and run through them. And in this room we have more of these stupid guys. And I'll show you how the magic rod works. As you can see, it doesn't do quite as much damage as our sword. So we have lots of red bats flying around. But it is nice to be able to just kind of hang out on the side of the room and attack. So to get to the boss, we have to head into this room. There's of course, a lot of whiz robes we have to take on. They are the flavor of the month in this dungeon. Ow. And also like-likes, and one little bubble that is chasing us around, tracking us and stalking us, trying to basically knock out our sword at a very inopportune time. Oh, dang it. Come on. The key is basically to just try to take out enemies one at a time, and don't let them gang up on you. Ow, because if they do, oh man, they're gonna do tons of damage. Okay, steady here. Let's try to get away from them. Yes. Okay. So we need to use a secret passage here to get to the right side of the dungeon where the Triforce piece is. And then it's only a couple of rooms and we'll take on another pretty easy boss. I'd say Gleeok is pretty much the most difficult boss just because it takes quite a few hits to kill him. Most of the other bosses you can actually take out with just 1 or 2 hits. And that is the case with the boss of this dungeon, which is named Goma. And Goma's actually somewhat familiar, probably, to those of you that have played other Zelda games. It's an enemy type that they use quite often. But there we go, replenish our key supply. And all we have to do is head to the north. So I'm going to dodge all these guys. The room to the south is a trap room with just a bunch of whiz robes. And all you got to do is shoot Goma in the eye with your bow and arrow. And it has to be directly in the little middle of the eye, the pupil. Like that. And that is it for this dungeon. So because we did actually end up using an extra key to advance, what I'm going to do is actually head back into the dungeon. I'm going to go to that room to the right of the entranceway, and I'm going to kill the whiz robes in there so I can actually get the key. So that'll restock us back up to the number of keys we had before we did this dungeon. And then in my next episode, what I'll actually do is head towards dungeon number 7, and we will continue onward with the main story, such as it is. So let's grab our special little key in here, kill off some more whiz robes, now that we don't have to worry about our health so much. Maybe we'll get lucky and get the King Wizrobe. There we go. And I'll see y'all next time, viewers. Hope you enjoyed it, and let's continue onward to dungeon number 7. Thanks for watching. I'll see y'all next time. So long. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Johnny Mare, and I am continuing with the Legend of Zelda for the NES. So we are very quickly approaching the end of this game. We have defeated the first 6 dungeons of the game. Now we just have 2 more of the Triforce dungeons to take out, and then of course the final dungeon to do. So last time we did Dungeon 6, which is actually, in many people's opinions, the most difficult dungeon in the game. So I almost took a sword from that Lionel there in the back. And that's why I kind of just wanted to do it and get out of the way. A lot of people will actually skip Dungeon 6 and do 7 and then 8 first, just because Wizrobes are so freaking annoying. But I like to just do it, get it out of the way, and then move on. So to access Dungeon 7, we need to use our recently acquired whistle, and we have to actually blow it here in this area to open up Dungeon number 7 from this pond. And there's actually a secret if you access a hidden cave. There's a old man or an old woman who will say you have to blow the whistle or go to where fairies aren't or don't live or something like that. And that's your little clue that you're supposed to do it there. So dungeon number 7 is called Demon. It's kind of in the shape of a lizard head or a dragon head. A lot of the dungeons are actually shaped like heads for some reason. Nice. We actually got the Master Bat there. And there is a lot of little side rooms in this dungeon. Now, basically what you get from those side rooms are keys, but that's why I've been stockpiling keys up to this point. So we're gonna use all the keys we've been acquiring from the past few dungeons, basically since the beginning of the game. And I didn't mean to go back through that bomb passageway, but oh well. We can quickly go back in here and get the compass by killing these skeletons. Because in the next dungeon we're actually going to get the almighty key, or the big key, or the master key, or whatever it's called, which actually will render all of the regular size keys basically useless. So we're gonna use all 7 of our keys, maybe not all 7. Maybe, about 4 or 5 of them in this dungeon. And then we'll use our last few keys in the next dungeon. And then we'll find that special key that'll allow us to open up all of the remaining locked doors in the game. So as you can see, there are a lot of mini bosses in this area, but fortunately, most of the rooms that they're in, you don't actually have to kill them. And this is our last bomb upgrade. So we need 100 rupees to go up to 16 bombs. So we're gonna dodge these Dodongos, and we will continue onward in the dungeon. Now, thankfully, there are no Wizrobes in this dungeon. And actually, there aren't any really enemies that are that difficult. The hardest enemies are the mini-bosses, but again, you can dodge most of them. And then these Garayas who are throwing boomerangs at us. But if you can time it correctly and kind of stay out of their sight line, and also dodge stupid bubbles so that your sword doesn't get basically paralyzed, then they're not too bad to kill. And even in their case, most of the time you can just dodge them. You don't have to worry about them. So we're gonna leave Dig Dodger here alone, and we'll continue onward. And this is another room where we can just skip by all of the enemies. No fuss, no muss. Now, why did we get the enemy bait way back when? It is for this room. You have to feed this moblin here so that he'll let you pass. And you can only do that with the enemy bait. Now, you can actually exit out of the dungeon by continuing, and what will happen is you'll start at the beginning of the dungeon. You'll actually get your bait back, but that moblin will actually still be gone, so it's a way to save on rupees, I guess. I mean, you don't technically have to get the enemy bait again, really, but I'm probably going to just because I like to have full items in my inventory, and so I don't like having those just empty spots. So we're gonna continue to kill things here and progress through the dungeon. Since we now have the map, you can see kind of the big beaked kind of maw that's open, and basically where we need to get is just below the eye of the dungeon. So you'll see that flashing light, which is the Triforce piece, and the boss is of course right below where the eye is. And to get to that boss, we have to actually head all the way to the upper part, the northeast. And I didn't mean to use my bombs there. Oops. The northeast corner of the dungeon. There's a secret room that has a secret passage in there. That's the only way to get to the room with the boss in. But first, we want to go directly into the eye of this dungeon. And that is because we can pick up the special item from this dungeon, which is the red candle. So all this time we have had the blue candle, which allows you to, of course, illuminate one room, but you can only use it once per room. So you can't really use it as an attack item. It's not really that powerful actually anyway. But now we're gonna get the red key, or not the red key, the red candle. And the red candle you can use multiple times. You can use it up to 2 times at once, so you can have 2 flames going in a particular room at one particular time. But you can use it an infinite number of times within a room. There's no restriction. Like I said, the only restriction is that you can only have 2 flames on screen at one time. So there we go. We have an upgraded item. We're gonna bomb through the wall over here. Fortunately, we have our 16, so that is no problem. And then we will continue onward. Now we're gonna head towards the boss's room. And the boss is a repeat of a previous dungeon boss. We are not gonna really see any new bosses from this point on. They're all just repeats. And in fact, it's very interesting. Some of the mini bosses from past dungeons end up being recycled again as dungeon bosses. So, you know, they kind of ran out of ideas at this point. Oh well, it's the last few dungeons. We're in the home stretch here. We're gonna dodge all the useless rooms, and we're just gonna continue onwards. Now this is one of the few rooms where you do actually have to fight the boss. So we will have to take on Dig Dodger here. You'll notice he is actually 3 eyeballs this time. So when he was the dungeon boss a few dungeons ago, there was only 2 little eyeballs that popped out when you blew the whistle. But this version and any future version, it's actually 3. And they take a few more slashes from your sword to kill than in the past. So they toughen them up a little bit. Not that they're that difficult anyway. Now we want to bomb into this room over here to the right. And this is, in a lot of ways, the most difficult room in the dungeon. And that is because you have to kill all of the wall masters. And to do that, you need to use your sword. And try not to get hit by those stupid bubbles. Because if you get hit by a bubble, the chances are very good that one of those wall masters will grab you and take you back to the entrance. But once you kill them all, they'll stop coming. And you push that little block there. And that'll access the secret passageway that'll take us to the boss. And we're almost done with this dungeon. Very quick, not too bad. Dungeon 8 isn't bad either, but it's all gonna come to a head in the final dungeon, which is a monstrous labyrinth of basically one-way doors and trick rooms and a lot of secret passageways. So that one's gonna take quite a while to beat. But we're gonna finish up here with dungeon number 7, once I kill this Garaya. And the boss is again our unicorned dragon from way back in dungeon number 1. And that is Aquamentus, or something like that. So we're just gonna hit him a couple times with our sword beam. He will die very quickly. We'll grab our heart, we'll grab our Triforce piece, and that is it for dungeon number 7, also known as Demon. So hopefully you enjoyed, viewers. We're gonna head on to dungeon number 8, which is in a very, very weird location, but I'll get into that more in my next episode. As always, I'll see y'all next time, and thanks for watching. So long. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Johnny Mare, and I'm continuing with the Legend of Zelda for the NES. So last time we took on dungeon number 7, and this time we are going to take on the last of the regular dungeons. So I'm gonna take out these particular stupid little moblins here, and we're gonna start heading to the east to head towards dungeon number 8. Now before we get to dungeon number 8, there is one particular item I do want to pick up, and that is to replenish my life potion. Because you may remember a couple episodes ago, during dungeon number 6, I did use 1/2 of my life potion because of those stupid Wizrobes. And no, we're not done with Wizrobes yet. We will see them again in the final dungeon of the game, but thankfully we don't have to face them in the next dungeon. So if we head all the way back to the starting screen of the game where we got the first sword and also, of course, started the game, we can use our red candle here to torch this particular bush and then allow us to access the old lady who sells the magic potion. So we are going to buy the blue potion because we already have a blue one. And as I mentioned, of course, previously, if you have a blue and buy another blue, it'll turn into a red. So that'll save you a little bit of money. And we'll need that money because, of course, we also need to use arrows for some of the enemies coming up, including the final boss of the game. So we want to make sure we have some rupees in order to activate those arrows. Now, dungeon number 8 is very difficult to find if you don't know where it is. There is a very, very cryptic clue that one of the secret kind of areas in the game will tell you about it, but it's not a very good clue. And basically, the way most people found it was just going around and trying to bomb and burn down, you know, pretty much everything in the environment until eventually they found it. And it is a tree that you have to burn in order to find it. Now, it is a sort of suspicious looking tree, sort of. So I guess it has that going for it, but overall, it's really, really inconspicuous. So basically, it's that tree right there at the end of this little path. Ow. So we take a nice arrow to the back. So you got to use your candle to burn the bush. Of course, using our wonderful fire. And then we're going to want to grab that rupee as well before we head into dungeon number 8, which is called Lion. So the dungeon is shaped like the head of a lion. Now, this dungeon has a very interesting item in it. It actually has 2 special items that you can pick up. And it has a ton of mini bosses, which of course are the former bosses of previous dungeons. So we will have to take on Manhandla here. And we are going to be going through our bombs very quickly, so I'm going to try to kill him without using too many bombs. Because there are some rooms in this dungeon, including this next room, where we're going to have to take on Dark Nuts again. And as you can see, they're still just as frustrating as before. And then, of course, we have mummies and bubbles and all sorts of nastiness. So you want to try to stay away from things, do as much damage as possible. And if necessary, you can always utilize a special little trick, which is if you do get hit by a bubble, you can actually take out your magic flute and blow it. And basically what'll happen is that you will go into your flute animation, and when you come out of the animation, you'll actually be able to use your sword again. So it takes a little bit less time, and of course the enemies don't get a chance to move around while you're waiting. But this is the Book of Magic, so what that does is it actually upgrades, so to speak, your magic rod. And essentially it adds a little fire effect to the end of the animation. Now it actually weakens the magic rod a little bit. It makes the particular blast of the magic rod not quite as strong. So, you know, it's sort of an upgrade, but not really an upgrade. I mean, a lot of people actually just skip it because it doesn't really serve a purpose in the game too much. I think you can use it to light rooms, for example, but, you know, I just get it for completion's sake. So now we have another Manhandla. Now I think fortunately this one we don't have to kill. We can just bomb through the northern wall and run away from it, which of course I will be taking full advantage of. And this is a very infamous room. This is one of the hardest rooms in the game, and that's because you have to take on all of these Dark Knots, and also you have those fireballs that are kind of flying around the room. But before we take that on, we're going to take out these Pole's voices by using our arrows. So we're just going to hang out over here, we'll grab this compass, and then one by one we'll take them down with our arrows. Now, of course, you don't have to actually kill all the enemies, but, you know, I still have my bloodlust from a couple episodes ago. Now we do have to kill all the enemies, though, because we need to get through that door up there. So this is another reason why we need bombs. You can actually get in a couple of hits on the Dark Nuts, and you'll notice I am switching back and forth between the pronunciations, trying to appease everybody, I guess. And ow, basically, I still suck at them because I haven't fought them in quite a while. And they do, of course, have the penchant to turn around at the last possible second and hit you right in the face with their stupid swords. But we have it under control. We're down to just one. And there we go. So we get a key. That's nice, but the... Ow. The more important thing is it opens up the doors. So there's not a huge reason to go to the left here. There's a few things over here that we'll be getting to. But the main path is to continue to the north of the dungeon. And hopefully we won't take too many hits from these stupid enemies. I could light up the room, but it's the classic kind of architecture design of the room with the diagonal stones. So basically I've done this room so many times in other dungeons that, you know, I know how to go through it. And this room is completely useless. It's for a key, I think, or maybe bombs. One of the two. So we'll dodge it, and we'll head up here. We have another mini-boss. They're actually the boss from dungeon number 6, and that is Goma. And it's a slightly stronger version. So you remember Goma went down with one shot before. This version takes 3 to 4 shots from your bow and arrow to kill. And your shield will not block those fireballs, so you need to dodge them. Alright, let's head north here. We'll get a little clue about where to find the final dungeon. And that is under Spectacle Rock, which is the entrance to death. Well, that sounds ominous. We'll take that challenge on, old man. Don't worry about it. And we'll use our key over here. Now, fortunately, you'll notice I only have 3 keys left. I've been stockpiling them in previous dungeons, basically to get to this dungeon. And that's because in this dungeon, the other special item that we're going to have access to, once we kill all these Dark Knots and head to the east, is the magical key. And actually, screw them, I'm just going to head through the northern wall. And another manhandler. And what the magical key does is it basically, nice, get the map, there's our lion's head. It allows you to not have to worry about small keys anymore because it can open any of the key doors. So that's good. We'll be certainly happy to pick that up and add it to our repertoire of items. You'll notice this is the eye, of course, of the lion. Whenever there is a dark kind of spot in the middle of the dungeon surrounded by active rooms, then you can kind of expect that there's going to be some sort of secret in there. But we have another Goma. The programmers are running out of ideas here. They're just going to keep throwing mini-bosses at us. But, of course, the added element is all of these stupid fireballs in here. And I am very quickly losing health. So it looks like I'm probably going to have to use my, magic potion in this dungeon, which, you know, it's not a big deal. They're not super expensive, but I do want to have a full magic potion for the final dungeon because it is a beast. It is easily the worst dungeon in the game and the longest, so I want to make sure that I have survivability with it. But this is the room, and this is the secret passage to access the Lion's Head key, or the Almighty key, or the Magical key, however you want to look at it, or call it. You'll notice it is shaped like a lion's head, which is very suspiciously shaped, just like the dungeon map. So we'll kill off these keys, and then we will grab our new special item. And of course, now our keys have moved to an A, which again stands for Almighty. So now we don't have to worry about them anymore. I had like 2 keys to spare, even skipping all of the key rooms from the previous dungeons. Everything worked out great for me. The last thing we have to do in this dungeon is go to the boss room, of course, and access that. We are unfortunately going to have to kill all of the Dark Knots in this previous room, because we do have to head to the east, and I'm going to use my magic potion because I don't want to die. So here we go. Let's respawn all of our health. Sucks that I have to do that, but it's better than dying. Of course, if I had a trusty fairy in a bottle, that would keep me from dying, but that is not in this game, so... Ooh. Dang it. Too bad 2 bombs isn't enough to kill them all, and I am running low on bombs. You do need some for the final dungeon, so... depending on how many I end up actually using here, I might have to do some rupee grinding off screen and actually get some more. Because at this point, nice. Full health again. I'm gonna need to upgrade my potion again, and I'm just gonna run through this room to the stairs. No point in hanging around and trying to kill all these guys. But I'm gonna need a magic potion, which is 40, and then I'm gonna need to get at least a couple of bombs, and I think 4 bombs is like 20, so I'll need about 60 rupees when it's all said and done. And I might actually buy about 8 bombs. So we'll see. I'll think about that off screen. But for now, we are very close to the boss battle, which again is another palette swap, although it's the same color. It's just a rehashed version of a previous boss and mini-boss. So we need to kill these stupid hoppin' bunnies. I would like to get that rupee, because that is 5 arrows for me. There we go. And again, there are some extra rooms over here you can go into. You can grab that key, but it's not necessary because I do have the magic key. And I'm gonna skip most of the rooms. I'm just gonna go right for the boss. But you do have to bomb your way into the boss's room. So we have 3 bombs left. And the boss is Gliok yet again, this time with 4 heads. So we're gonna man up here and we're just gonna go right into his body. And we're gonna keep slashing him until he dies. So die. There we go. And that is it. That is dungeon number 8. Not too bad, as long as you got a life potion. I took way too many hits there. But next time we will head towards the final dungeon of the game and take on the final boss. So as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. So long. Welcome back, everybody. This is the thejonnymar, and I'm continuing with the Legend of Zelda for the NES. So you'll notice that in between episodes, I did some rupee grinding, and I actually got my red potion back by going and buying a blue potion. And I also managed to get 16 bombs again. Now we are headed towards the final dungeon in this game, and one of the quick ways that we can do that is to use our magic recorder or flute to actually do some quick traveling around the screen. So you'll notice I went from dungeon number 8 to dungeon number 1, and that is one of the closest dungeons so that we can actually get to the final dungeon as quickly as possible. And that's a little trick in this game, is you can use the recorder to travel around the world map. A lot of the time it's actually random which of the dungeons you go to, but there are very certain instances where you actually can manipulate that a little bit, depending on what direction Link is facing, and also when you use the recorder, or flute, however you want to talk about it. But we have collected all of the Triforce pieces. The Triforce has been reconstructed, and now we need to head into the final dungeon to actually get our princess back. And so we will actually be meeting with the woman whose name is plastered all over this series, but who this series is not really about. Because yes, this series is about Link, not about Zelda. So a few more enemies to kill off here. We'll pull out our bombs, and we'll bomb the left of these 2 little mounds here that are not, you know, basically, I'm not even gonna go that route. So we actually get some brand new music here, which is pretty cool. And in this room, if you don't have all of the Triforce pieces, those doors will be closed and you can't progress. So this dungeon is a beast. There are a lot of enemies in here. It is the biggest dungeon in the game by far. And of course, there are a lot of bubbles as well, making things very difficult. So like the previous dungeons, what I'm going to be doing is trying to show you a very efficient path to actually get the special items in the dungeon and also get to the boss as quickly as possible. Not as a speedrun or anything like that, but just the quickest way that I know. Now, unfortunately, we are going to have to take on all of the most difficult enemies in the game, and by that I mean Wizrobes. And there are a lot of Wizrobes in this dungeon, so I will most likely be using my magic potion probably the whole thing, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get lucky and avoid the hits. This dungeon is designed to confuse you. There are a lot of secret passages that you have to use to access rooms. A lot of the rooms you have to use bombs to get between. And there are 2 special items, and one of these special items is needed to beat the final boss of the game, and that is the silver arrows. So you do need to make sure to pick those items up. Now if you head south here and bomb through the wall, continue downward, you will get to the compass. Here we have a new enemy, the Patra, or Patria, or however you want to pronounce it. You don't actually have to kill that, which is good. That's one of the rooms that has that new enemy type in where you don't have to kill it. If you do want to take it on, you can actually kill it in this room to get the map, but I'm going to be avoiding that because it does a ton of damage. You have to kill all of those little enemies around it before you can actually take out the middle part of it. Okay, come on. No, just let me through here. Please just let me out. I just want to go. Thank you. Like Lakes, Bubbles, and Wizrobes. What a horrible, horrible combination. Oh, grab that. Oh, man. God dang it. Nothing like getting stuck in a corner and almost being killed when there's a nice little stopwatch on the screen. Alright, I'm going to reset this. I only have 1 more blue Wizrobe to kill, and as you can see, I am almost dead already. Come on, you stupid thing. And here come the bubbles, trying to get rid of my sword at the last possible second. God dang it. Frickin' bubbles. But this is actually the final health upgrade in the game. And it's not technically a health upgrade per se. But as you can see, it is the red tunic or red ring or however you want to call it. It cuts your damage by 75%. So now all hits only do 25% of their normal damage. So that's awesome. That's very helpful in this dungeon. In fact, I would argue that is completely necessary to beat this dungeon. Unless you are just really good at dodging enemies, which I am not, as is pretty obvious here. So now we need to head back and to the north. We'll kill off all these little gels and grab our 5 rupees. Now if you do get the map, what this dungeon actually looks like is a big skull. And there's quite a few rooms in this dungeon. I would say there's probably like 40-ish rooms. Maybe. I mean, it's massive. If you explore the whole thing, you can be in here for quite a while. Wow, I only took 1 hit there. That's pretty awesome. Great hint! So we need to go to the next room. And that will allow us to continue. After we kill some more Wizrobes. So we have 1 more special item to get, and that is the silver arrows. That'll let us actually kill Ganon. Without those, we cannot kill Ganon. And then we just have to head to the boss. So let's see if we can do that with a minimal of casualties here. I have yet to die during this game, but we'll see what happens. I might die in this dungeon. You can lose health very quickly in this game. Especially when you're fighting lots of Wizrobes. Alright, so the most efficient path to get to the silver arrows is to kill these enemies. Thanks for the stopwatch after I kill everything. And then we need to head to the left 2 screens. And there will be another secret passage that we have to take. Well, I guess it's not a secret passage when the stairs are right on the screen. And this one we do have to kill the Patra. You'll notice that cool little effect there. Get almost a 3D effect. So we're gonna try to stay outside of its range. This one does not extend its little minions out. So it actually makes it quite a bit easier to kill. Especially if you have your sword beam. All you gotta do is time it. Come on. Now. There we go. And once they're all dead, run up to it and hit it in the eye. Lots of secret passages, lots of keys, and of course, lots of Wizrobes. We do have to come back this way. You technically don't have to kill all these enemies to get to these silver arrows, but as I said, we do have to come back this way and use these stairs, so we're gonna have to kill these enemies anyway. Oh man. If you can stay out of the kind of straight line of sight of Wizrobes, they won't shoot you as much. But if you're in their sight range, they will just continuously blast at you. Alright, very annoying room. Lots of Wizrobes and lots of bubbles, and we do have to kill all of them. Here come the bubbles. Man. Get away! Get away! Come on! Okay, one to go. There we go. Push this block here, head down the secret stairs, and we will get our final special item in the game, and that is these silver arrows. And with that, all we have to do now is get to Ganon. So now we have to do some backtracking. And once we kill Ganon, that will be the end of this game. We will save Princess Zelda, and we can move on. And that'll leave us with, you know, do I take on the second quest in the game, which is basically the same, except they change around the structure of the dungeons a little bit, and the location of the dungeons. And they also make all of the enemies more difficult. That's a terrifying room. Although at this point, it's not super terrifying, because my magic shield does not really block the fireballs of Ganon. All it really does is help against the Wizrobes, which I guess is important, but we're almost to Ganon. So it wouldn't be a huge deal if we lost our big shield. Come here, you stupid like. My inclination is to not take on the second quest, but I might be persuaded. And the reason I say that is because I've never done it before. I know it's very difficult. I am not the greatest at this game, and so I'm not good at dodging enemies. I take a ton of damage, and so I do not have high hopes that I would actually be able to beat the second quest. I mean, through sheer persistence, maybe. But it would probably be very aggravating. Oh, I could use that fairy. Come here, fairy. Okay. One more blue to go. Push this, and the stairs are underneath this stupid spike thing. And we are almost to Ganon. But like I said, if people really want to see me do it, basically tell me in the comments, let me know, and I will consider it. If enough people have interest in me doing the second quest, let's get through this room as quickly as possible, then I will add it to the queue. Alright, so we are there. All we have to do is kill these enemies, try not to get hit by bubbles, and try not to lose our shield. Oh man, okay. And of course these bubbles are going to just stay around this lake, making it impossible to kill it. What's that? You're trying to kill this lake? Protect it! Alright, here we go. 2 more rooms to go. Can you feel it? Get hyped. Another patcher we have to kill, but luckily it's one of the 3D ones. These are a little bit easier to kill in my opinion. Much more easier to predict their movement pattern. And now, once we kill it, let's head in and take on Ganon for one of the most anticlimactic boss fights ever. There he is, the big pig himself. So he is invisible, and he will shoot fireballs at you, and you need to basically slash around the room blindly. He'll home in on you. Eventually you'll hit him. And you have to hit him 4 times. And once you hit him the 4th time, then you can shoot him with your silver arrows. There he is. Arrow him. And that is the game. Triforce has been recovered. So let's head in and save the princess. And please do not run into the fire. You can use your sword to get rid of it, and then shoot her in the heart like Cupid with a silver arrow. And that is the original Legend of Zelda for the NES. And unlike most Legend of Zelda games, there is actually some credits. They're pretty limited, but hey, it's something. So I'm going to take this opportunity while those limited credits are scrolling to say thank you to everyone for watching. Again, please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see me take on the second quest, and I will certainly consider it. Other than that, we'll be moving back on to Ni no Kuni, and also to Resident Evil 2, the Claire Ace scenario. So as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this series. It was certainly a lot of fun, and I will see you all next time. So long! Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please press like and leave a comment below. Please also subscribe to my channel and press the notification bell. See you next time.